Joining me now, six-time Super Bowl champion. He hates talking about his rings, but we might. Current Houston Texans GM Nick Caserio. What is it like to watch that clip back?
Means I'm not very good on the phone. That's what it means when I watch that. So it's one of those jobs you have to do. So no, it's interesting. Each kid sort of responds a little bit differently. So you kind of have to deal with it in the moment and then understand. Probably going to make a few more calls the rest of the day. So, but it's always fun.
Who decided that those calls need to be recorded? I bet that is so. I bet you would lead the like Green Bay's doing the tush push. You would lead the charge to not have those recorded and put out.
You know me well, Kay, so I won't comment on that. Our PR, Omar will probably get mad at me if I say what I really think.
Oh, shout out to Omar, and thank you for
it's
the time.
Content. We're entertainment business, Kay. Everybody forgets, so we're in the entertainment business. Everybody.
But how often? Okay, but let's be honest here. When you're on that call, you can't really be yourself. You know you're being recorded. How much do you think about that? It would drive me crazy.
Yeah, no, honestly, we try to keep it pretty consistent. Similar message. If there's something specific to that individual player that you want to touch upon, understand it's a very important time in their life. It's a momentous occasion. They've worked all their life to get to this point. So you're certainly cognizant of that. Respect the moment. And it's really about the player, not about who's on the other end of the line, whatever team is calling.
Well, thanks for joining this morning. And, 7 draft trades this year. I'm just so happy to see that you didn't trade this appearance to, the insiders and Rappaport.
I tried. I'm just kidding.
What is with you? What is with you in the trades, Nick? What? Are you bored? What is that?
I get restless. No, we don't necessarily trade just to trade. I would say, even just going back to the trade that we made before the draft started, it's about positioning. We had a 5th. We didn't have a 6th. We had a few 7s. So the idea was if we could maybe accumulate some late picks for Saturday, that could give us an opportunity to kind of maneuver around, which we did. It's just about strategy and positioning and maybe giving you a few more bites at the apple. I would say specific to the trades that happened during the course of the actual draft as it's going. It's all player-based. It's about supply and demand. It's about where do you think you have to get to acquire a certain caliber of player or a certain pot of players. So we're not afraid. And I think it's understanding the players, understanding the board. You put a lot of work and research into it. And just understanding where the sweet spots may lie. And you're not necessarily just doing a trade just to do a trade. It's about positioning. It's about strategy. And we're trying to do something that's fair and reasonable. We're not trading necessarily just to quote unquote win the trade. We went back and looked at it actually last night or yesterday. The 7 trades that we did, I think we ended up plus 11 on the Jimmy chart. So again, I didn't really know that. And when you're going through the draft, you're not trying to keep track of that. Well, are we winning? Are we losing? It's just, is the fair trade? Is there something you have to do to kind of balance it out? So we've never approached it. We have to quote unquote win the trade every time. It's what's fair, what's reasonable. Is the other team willing to make some concessions or willing to make the agreement? And if they are, then boom, you go, and then you're on to the next thing.
I mean, I think it tells me about your conviction and sort of your faith in your evaluations and in your staff.
Yeah, we got a great staff. They put so much time and work into this, and it's a collaborative effort. It's very communicative. I mean, it's kind of an open forum. We're talking. We're constantly communicating. On Thursday, even though we didn't pick, I didn't leave the draft room. I didn't even go down and grab a bite to eat. So I didn't even realize it. I mean, it was in there. We were calling. We were on the phone. We were looking at moving up. We moved down. We were going to pick. So you're just kind of prepared for everything, and you have to talk through it. And you talk through a lot of different scenarios before the draft starts. D'Amico and I communicate on just about everything. So essentially, we're on the same page. Do we agree on everything? No, it's not about agreeing on everything. It's just having an overall understanding. Here's a rationale and a reason behind whatever move you're going to make. And we just try to stay consistent all the way through.
All 9 picks were results of a trade, which is sort of wild. It's just sort of unbelievable. And now we're fresh off this draft. Unlike in 2023, you traded back into the first round. How long was that trade in the works?
With the trade that we moved back from, or the one in 23 that we did with Arizona?
No, this 2025.
Oh, yeah, no, it was pretty fluid. I mean, we were kind of moving around. We were scheduled to pick at 25. We had about a handful of players during the course of Thursday who we felt comfortable picking. Not sure any of them were on your show or not, but I know you had a lot of people on. But and then so we tried to move up a little bit, didn't really work out. Then I would say in about the 18, 19, 20 range, we started to get some calls about our pick. So we were kind of putting the information up on the board. We had actually 3 different trade scenarios that were on the board at one time. So had trade scenarios. We could have picked a player. Always have to be prepared to pick a player. And then when we were on the clock, I mean, I'd say either a pick before, or maybe when I think when Minnesota picked at pick 24, and then after they picked, then we were able to consummate the trade with the Giants. So scooted back there into the second round, and then had the second pick there to start Friday, and we're ready to go.
I wish I even understood half of what you're saying. The Jimmy J chart, that whatever. It's just like it's all so intense and so crazy. How would you evaluate as you sit here now Wednesday after draft? And I know like you don't have to get these deals done with these guys. It's so insane. Are you happy? What was like the one if the camera could catch that like F yes moment, what was that for you?
Yeah, I think to your point a little bit earlier, like we had a lot of conviction on a number of these players, and it's important. Doesn't mean we're necessarily right. It just means that we feel strong and convicted about the players that we brought in the building relative to the rest of the people on our team. We feel like we have a fairly competitive team. And the reality is our job is to create as much competition, as many positions as possible. And we feel that we've done that. Now, in the end, it's not going to be my decision or D'Amico's decision about who plays. The players are going to determine who plays and how big of a role they're going to have on the team. But I'd say we got a lot of great kids that care a lot about football, that are selfless, that are team first. I'd say talking about, Noel, 2-time captain. So not necessarily you're drafting for those specific traits or attributes, but the mindset, the makeup. I mean, our program, we feel it's a pretty strong program. It's not for everybody, and you need a certain level of mental and physical toughness and overall competitiveness to make it here. So we try to match that up with players that have a similar mindset. And for the most part, we feel we've done that. Now, once they get here next week for rookie minicamp, we'll kind of have a better idea. And the reality is they have to put a foundation in place. They have to learn what it means to be a Houston Texan. And that's our job, is to give them as much information as possible to absorb it and then get them essentially ready to go in training camp so they can be competitive with the rest of the team.
I think you did your job, and Ryan's has to figure it out. I love that you guys work so well together, the dynamic. It's very obvious how much respect you guys have for each other, how much reverence there is. But I think you did your thing for Stroud, which is the gig, right? Like Higgins and Noel and Ursery to bring in and help with the O-line. We obviously, we were not, I'm sure you weren't super happy with the way the year ended. We have this amazing talent. We want to get back there. What did you learn, speaking about being a Texan and the toughness, what did you learn about CJ Stroud? Like, you had your scouting report on him, you grabbed him, you loved him. What one thing from this past year would you add into that folder and that file about him?
He's very convicted. He's very prideful. He cares a lot about winning, and he wants to go out there and perform well on a weekly basis. And I think every player, we all get frustrated when things don't go your way, but your ability to bounce back and have a certain level, kind of what I talked about a little bit earlier, mental toughness to be able to handle what's in front of you. It wasn't perfect. Like, we had our ups and downs, but I mean, other than 2 games last year, we essentially had an opportunity in the fourth quarter of every game. So this year, who knows what's going to happen? It's probably going to be a little bit different, but like, we understand how competitive this league is. I mean, I think there was a stat from the league meetings. I mean, 70% of the games last year were 1-score games in the fourth quarter, which is ridiculous. It just goes to show you how competitive this league is. So if you can at least put your team in that position to have an opportunity to win in the fourth quarter, that's all you can ask for. But CJ cares a lot about winning. He's had a great offseason. He's been here really since February. I mean, he's kind of been in and out here a little bit, but everybody needs some time away. But he wants to improve, and there's going to be a certain learning curve associated with learning a new offense, with having Coach Cayley here and some of the things that go into that. But I think he's got the right mindset. He understands that, we can all improve and we can all get better. And this is what the offseason is for. So hopefully he's excited about what's in front of us.
Am I going to like this, Kaylee? John Carroll guy.
Are you going to like him?
Yeah.
What's not to like about John Carroll, guys?
I hear he's going to give, I just don't know him. I don't know him. He's going to give CJ a little more on his plate. That's a great thing, I imagine. What do I need to know about Coach Cayley?
That he's a good coach and he went to a great college. So that's where it ends. So no, he's an awesome human being. It's interesting. His background's a little bit different. He started on the defensive side of the ball and coached for a number of years on the defensive side of the football. And then when we brought him to New England and hired him as an offensive assistant, that was the first time he'd kind of worked on the offensive side of the ball. So I'd say he's pretty well versed. He's worked for a number of really good coaches, Coach Belichick, being involved with Coach McDaniels, Josh, when he was in New England. Had an opportunity to work with Sean over the last couple of years. So I would say brings kind of a wealth of experience in a couple of different systems. So what we have to do, what he's going to focus on and concentrate on is putting together the Houston Texans offense and what do we need to do to be successful. But a tremendous human being that's got a lot of juice, got a lot of energy. He doesn't have as much energy as Sean, which nobody does, but being around Sean is probably never a bad thing.
I like what you're saying about CJ Stroud. I like hearing what I'm hearing about Kaylee and sort of what this offense might look like. You drafted an offensive lineman. You're talking about convictions. Your fans are convicted about the O-line. They would have taken a million offensive linemen if they could. But I was looking at just the depth chart. There's so many combinations, Nick, that you guys could go with. It's sort of crazy. There's so many guys in that position room that could all be starters. Is there a master plan? How did the offensive lineman you chose fit into that? Or is this just going to be like a fight to the death in training camp for these spots?
You're one of the few that's made a very astute observation, Kay, about the composition of that group right now. So I'd say we have a lot of players that have a lot of experience, not only in NFL, but in our system as well. So have some players that are tackle only, have some players that have experience playing tackle and guard, have some players that are guard only, have some players that can play all three inside positions. So we feel like there's going to be really good competition amongst that group. I think we have a lot of confidence in the players that are here. I'd say add an Ursary to that group. We feel as a player that's going to enhance that competition as well as play a lot of football, brings a certain physicality and a mindset and a toughness to that. So we'll get the 5 best guys out there on the field, and we're going to have 8 at the game every week. But we feel that overall that's a pretty competitive group, and we feel like at some point it's all going to manifest itself, and there's an opportunity for us out there that we feel makes sense, and we can add a player. We're never going to turn that down.
The most common Twitter question I got when I said that you were joining us this morning was about Ladarius Henderson. An update. I think there's a real groundswell of support for thinking that he
a lot of Michigan
might
fans out there.
Maybe that's what it is. I guess give the people what they want. What is the update on Ladarius?
LD's been working his ass off really since last year. It's unfortunate he kind of had a deal with a couple different foot injuries. One that he was aware of, maybe one that kind of came to fruition when he got here, was new, but he's worked really hard. He's been here essentially every day since the season has ended. So he's got a great attitude, very upbeat, very positive, a lot of energy. He was a player that we thought was going to be competitive with the group last year, played tackle at Michigan, had some snaps inside as well. So kind of fits with the rest of the group. So awesome human being, just a great kid. So he's had a good attitude. He didn't allow what happened last year to affect his overall work ethic and mindset. So he's been great to have here, and we're anxious to see him on the field. So hopefully that helps out all the Twitter followers out there about that.
Yeah,
on that question.
There you have it, Texans fans. I
just looked at the schedule. Any golf questions or no? I know you're a big golf fan now.
You're a golf fan. Golf and wrestling and all the things. Who's the wrestler? You're an Undertaker guy, aren't you?
I love the Undertaker. Absolutely.
I know.
He's old school. I was Undertaker, Rock, Stone Cold. I'd say kind of the new school,
Yeah.
LA Knight, The Miz. The Miz is a Cleveland guy, so I know The Miz and I have gone back and forth. I love The Miz, so I kind of just give him a hard time. So, but
he was just on our show. Yeah, he was excited about the Cleveland draft. Big Browns fan, like you said. Of course, you went to high school, grew up around there. Who is give me the wrestler? I'm fine. The Undertaker, I get. The rebrand of the Undertaker, I don't know.
Yeah, you got to go old. Yeah, no, the rebrand's never good. You always got to just stick with the original. The original is usually better than the rebrand.
Yeah. Are you talking about Bill Belichick, or are you talking? I'm kidding. Totally kidding. Don't touch it. I was going to ask you which wrestler. I'm not going to.
Okay, that's for other people. I'm not informed on that anyway. So.
All right. That's saying a lot. We're going to leave that alone. I want to know the wrestler that should be my Undertaker. You have the Undertaker. I'm new. I'm enthusiastic.
Who do you have to?
Just who should be my guy or girl? Who should be who am I throwing in with? Who am I rooting for?
Yeah. Cena's kind of going heel. So maybe the new version of John Cena. So maybe,
Are we in on that?
I don't know. Pardon me?
Do we like the John Cena heel turn? Evaluate that.
It's kind of like the Rock heel turn back in the day. It didn't really go great, so we'll see how long this actually lasts. So, but I'm a big Rollins guy. I would say if you're going to go with somebody, go with Rollins. I love Rollins. Rollins is great.
Yeah.
Great personality, great behind the mic. I'm a big Rollins fan.
Okay.
And he's a big Bears fan. I know he's hosting other shows and all that, so he's a big football guy. So we got a lot of football wrestling crossover going on.
We do. I mean, I heard Pat McAfee is going to be in the ring.
Oh yeah, Pat will make another appearance. So Pat's done a great job. He's done a phenomenal job.
No, I think he's fighting someone. My producer.
Yeah, Gunther. I think Gunther. Yeah, I think Gunther.
Who comes out on top? Tell me everything I need to know about that. What is that?
Ask Triple H.
Oh gosh.
He's got the answers. I don't.
If you could see one media member outside of McAfee to go into the ring, who would you nominate?
To go into wrestling? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I don't know. You stumped me. You pick one. Put that out there. That should be a Twitter question for your fans. So.
Okay, let's put that out there. Which media member? Nick evading questions left and right. You've been part of I'm sad that you guys aren't playing New England. I just looked at that schedule. Not happy about that. That would have been fun with you and Kayla.
We played them last year, so we played the AFCs last year.
Yeah. You've been part of some great trades, right? Corey Dillon, Randy Moss. You move up to take Will Anderson there as the GM of the Texans. What is the best trade that never happened? Like the one that you got really close to and didn't come through that you think about the most?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Nothing off the top of my head. It's always going to be something draft related. You know, if you're looking at an area, maybe you get to a point and then you can't get there, then maybe you end up losing out on a player. But as far as, trades kind of in season, like free agent, that kind of thing. So most of them, I mean, I would say from our perspective too, I've always approached it. Look, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You try not to get so emotionally invested, understanding a trade's never done until it's done. And you can't just put so much on it and build this expectation level and that doesn't work out. But we were fortunate. I mean, there's some trades that have worked, some trades that haven't worked worked out as well as you maybe would have hoped. So, I mean, this is the way it goes. I mean, I'd say Welker, that was that was probably one of the better trades that took place when, we were in New England. I mean, that was kind of a unique one just because of his situation, or restricted. Then we tendered, or he got the tender, then he got a new contract, then we traded for him. And I'd say some of those players, I mean, the Corey Dillon trade was, I have a Scott and Bill, like that was a massive trade. It really made a difference offensively for us. It's probably one of the big reasons why we ended up winning the Super Bowl that year in 03 or whatever it was.
Nick, what a flex. I ask you what trade didn't happen, and you just proceed to go over all the incredible trades that did. So basically all the big trades that
Scott takes responsibility for most of those in New England. So I'm not going to take responsibility for those.
I love that they happen. So this week you're signing these guys, right? Like what's your role in the building? You have to welcome them, and then it's almost like more work this week than last week?
It's funny you say that. Over the last couple of days, there's just been some organizational things that we got to get them situated. They'll travel next week to be here. We got to onboard them. We'll start to sign the drafted rookies, the 4th, 5th, 6th round picks, 7th round picks. Those are pretty, I would say, standard contracts. So a lot of it is just logistics, getting them organized. And then from a team building perspective, kind of looking at what's available. There's another opportunity out there. Maybe bring some players in to work out so we can update some of our lists. So you kind of flip the page and kind of transition to the next phase, which I enjoy. So the draft's the draft's behind us. Now we're just moving forward, and it'll be the rookies next week. And then we'll start phase 2 with the players. They'll be out in the field. So the first opportunity for the coaches to get out there and work with the players. So it's always exciting anytime you can get on the grass and start to work with the players.
Your DB room is so fun. Like if I could have a camera in that room, I just think it's so great.
That would be a great reality show in and of itself. I mean, it would be incredible. A lot of personality, a lot of juice, a lot of back and forth, a lot of good-natured fun. Going to bring out the best in one another and going to bring out the best on the other side of the ball. But I mean, you're talking about guys like Lassiter, Petrie, CJ. Kalen Bullock. I mean, Sting probably says the least amount of all that group, but he kind of lets his play. Oh, Sting doesn't talk, so it's not his personality. He lets his play do the talking. So, but there's a lot of juice in that room, and you see it on the field. You see that energy, you see that emotion, which is how we want to play, which kind of reps our style, and which is what D'Amico wants to have on that side of the ball.
But as someone who's been around like Rodney and Ty Law, I'm looking at the depth chart of the names you just mentioned. Like, how does this stack up to the one you had in New England? I would guess that this might be the best DB room you've been a part of.
Yeah, we had some good groups in New England. I mean, you go back and look at kind of that 03, 04 group with Rodney. We had even Tyrone Poole was probably a little bit of an underrated player. Eugene Wilson, who we drafted, who was a corner convert that ended up playing safety. I mean, that was a really good group. And then you pair that up with the front that we had. I mean, there's a reason why we were that good on defense. You got guys like Willie Mack, Pfeiffer, Brewski, Mike Vrabel, Vince, Ty Warren. I mean, Jarvis Green. But I would say we feel like our secondary is going to be competitive. We felt like we had a decent defense last year, and they went out there and played well. So if we can enhance a strength, and in the end, everybody's got to reestablish their level of performance. So like what happened last year isn't necessarily have any relevance this year, but should be fun, should be exciting. A lot of competition back there, and they're probably all going to contribute at some point.